Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. We've been missing a few weeks, but we're back today, and we're talking about the underground feast, the secret sauce of soil biology. Andy Lopez, I love you, brother. How's it going? It's been a while. I'm glad to see that you're feeling a little bit better. So, what's the secret sauce, Andy? I mean, like, is it Tex-Mex or what the heck?
You're. I was captured by this a whole female warrior civilization, and it took me a while to fight my way back. It was
The
horrible.
Amazonians got you.
Yeah, it was horrible. I had to kill everybody, get on their ship, and just struggle my way back here. But hey, guys, today I have a very special for you. You guys are just in time for dinner. So just think about the last time you had an incredible meal, right? Think about how it tasted and how nutritional it was and how it was all organic. Now, what if I told you that right now beneath our feet, the most exclusive high-stake culinary event, I took a lot of time writing this, culinary event on Earth is taking place. Millions of organisms are trading sugar for minerals, cooking up nutrients, and running a massive subterranean economy. Isn't that cool? Took me a while to get that down. So welcome to the Underground Feast, the secret sauce of soil biology, where we pull back the dirt and look at the bustling, wild, and microscopic restaurant of soil biology. I'm Andy Lopez, Invisible Gardener, and today on All the Biology with Ken. Hi, Ken. We're breaking down the ultimate guest list, from the sugar-paying plants to the microbial chefs keeping the entire planet alive. So grab a seat, and it's time to dig in. This is where we're supposed to play some music, you know. So what I did was I like doing 10 points. I've always seemed to stick to 10 points. 1 point is not enough, you know. So I'm going to go through 10 points detailing how the underground feast works. Biologically, and who eats what, and how they cook the nutrients, and what happens when the party gets disrupted. So let's start with point number one. I should do like a little thing that comes up, you know, flash, you know. But everybody, what we got here? My business, similar freedom. It's her. It's her.
Sarina.
But what does it say? Which festival?
Which vegetables is a symbol of freedom for the United Fruit and Vegetables Nation? The cracked Liberty Bell of Pepper.
Yeah, bell pepper. I think maybe should just ignore her. You know, I'm not really sure. So hi everybody, glad to see you all here. So let's just talk about the rhizosphere. That's the restaurant. And I look at things in such a weird way because, and it makes it real easy to understand because people have a hard time figuring out how does nutrient get into plants.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's not that hard to do because you have to figure out how does nutrients get into our bodies, right? You know, you know, and I tell people that our stomach is just the same as the soil. That's how we developed it. The same person who developed the soil, right? God, Gia, whatever you want to call it, also developed our stomach using the very same ideas. And it's interesting is that this particular, the rhizosphere is a thin layer of soil directly surrounding root plants. It functions as the ultimate underground diner, serving at the exact zone where plants and microscopic organisms meet to trade food, trace minerals. I've always talked about that it's all about what we talk about is all the biology, but it's really all about the trace minerals. That's what it comes down to. How do we get the trace minerals into our bodies? How does the plants, how does Mother Nature, how did she set it up to get trace minerals? And so that's what the first thing is the rhizosphere, that's the restaurant. And that allows, and it's interesting too, because we talk a lot about there being a massive billions of different types of soil biology, and they're all very specialized. They're specialized in how and what nutrients we get, right? How we absorb it. And so the next part is how plants play with liquid sugar, because we know that plants use photosynthesis to make energy, and we know that this very same energy pumps up 40% of sugars, amino acids, carbs, essential trace minerals, straight out of the roots into the soil. And I've always thought that was really interesting. That here's you have a root in the ground, and everything's out there in the soil. And how does it go from out there into the through the root systems? And so these root secretions are called exudates, EXU-dates.
Exudates, yes.
Exudates, right. And their sole purpose is to act as a free buffet to attract specific microbes. It's all about specialization. I mean, it's like you have a massive billion army, right? And everybody specializes in something different.
Yeah.
That is what is so cool about it for me, because I don't have to try to figure out who specializes in carbon, or no, it's easy enough so what I do is I get everybody together, they decide who gets what and how they get it. And I never really knew how or why. All I know is that if you get different kinds of biology together, they will provide what you need for that particular pest or disease every single time. You have to say, okay, who has the gun to spray this? Who can spray this? Because people ask me all the time, Andy, I want you to spray this plant. What can I spray this plant? And so they're so used to that. Okay, you can buy this and spray it, and it solves the problem. So I stopped saying that a long time ago. Hi, silly. I stopped saying that a long time ago because I would tell people, you don't have a ant problem, or you don't have a disease on your plant, or whatever the problem is, you have a soil problem. And that throws them for a loop. They go, wait a minute. So what am I supposed to do now? I mean, throw the soil at them? And they don't understand that there's this amazing kitchen going on down there. And recently I was talking to somebody. Oh, actually, what I was watching the latest From the Ground Up. It's called. It's a name of these group of people who do Kiss the Ground. They have a new movie out, and it's a whole bunch of people talking about how this thing works, and they were right on in the fact that without the soil we don't have any life. Without the soil biology, we don't have any life at all whatsoever. And right now, what's really happening is that the soil life is in danger because we keep screwing around with it. But I got to tell people, if a giant spaceship was to come on Earth and take all human beings off the planet, the Earth will go, phew, that was close, and go back to your business. Right? All the biology will get back together, figure out how to clean the forever plastic, figure out how to clean the radiation, figure out how to clean all the toxins. They will clean it up. Whether human beings will come back or not, that's another story, right? It's not us. It's not the Earth that's in trouble, because people are saying the Earth is in danger, right? No, the Earth goes through this stuff all the time. Global warming. It's us that are in danger. We're the people. What does this one say? Production of more female flowers. Oh, she's did it again.
Is there a way to stimulate
I see.
more female flowers on a watermelon?
What you're doing is you're missing particular trace minerals. That's what you have to do. The way it works is that you have to have something, particularly in terms of flowers, you have to have calcium. And if you don't have the right amount of calcium, or if you're calcium deficiency, the other minerals, which are also needed for production of flowers, will not happen. Like that. It goes back down to, the trace minerals. So these exotic trace minerals are very easy to get. The calcium happens to be deficient. The number one thing that people, plants and animals are deficient in calcium. That's one reason why we eat meat. We chew down the bones, right? Get the calcium in. Get the calcium in there. So a lot of people who are vegetarians, or probably, even though they're meat eaters, they don't get to eat bones that much. They eat the meat, They're very rarely chewing on. But so I tell people when you eat, try to eat all parts of the animal, right? Try to get as much calcium as you get into, and that's what's needed with these plants in terms of production. Also, too, you have to be careful not to overdo the nitrogen. Whenever you have too much nitrogen, you're automatically reducing your trace minerals, ability to absorb trace minerals. I'm assuming that she's organic, you're organic, and you do organic systems, so that means that you probably don't have over amount of nitrogen, but you can't do that. You still, in an organic system, you can still overdo the nitrogen. Lots of things are very, very high in nitrogen. If you use bat guano, for example, or bird poop, they're very, very high in nitrogen. Chicken is very, very high in nitrogen. It'll burn things, as a matter of fact. And so a lot of times you make compost, if you make it very, very high in the nitrogen content, it's also going to be deficient in the calcium content. Perfect blend of things the plant will grow. It'll look really good. It get nice and big, very little flowers. That's probably what's happening with her. A watermelon, the big vine just keeps on growing. And where's the flowers? I want the watermelon. So what I think is happening is that we talked in the past. I'm not sure if she has a water filter or not, because the water will counteract. It's usually the pH of the water that hurts in the long run, because the pH of the water will change the pH of the soil if you use it on a regular basis. Even if you go through a water filter, you have to look at see what your pH of your water is, because that'll make your pH too acid or too alkaline. And again, the pH range is very important for absorption of minerals, because that's its zone. There's a certain zone that the biology lives in that we talk about. It's a certain zone. It's like 6.5 to 6.8. That's the zone. 6.8. 6.8.
Well, that's the zone on top of your soil, but deeper down,
Yes.
But Lily comes up with a good point here. Nutrients like boron can improve flower setting, while Epsom salts can help alleviate plant stress and promote better bloom development.
So boron is usually when you buy like Epsom salts, for example, it actually has a blend of calcium in it already. Calcium comes with the boron. The two are together. So it's a name, boron citrate. It's like a calcium and boron blend together. They bind together and form a separate compound. And then when the plants break it down, you have your boron, you have your calcium. And it's really cool because that boron happens to be one of the exotic minerals that you have a hard time getting. And so a lot of times
I want to put something out here, and I've done this. Have you ever heard of borax for laundry, Andy?
Right, 20-butene, right.
Okay, now that's boron. Okay,
right.
Now if you're gonna use it though, you're using 10 or 12 grains of it in like a gallon plus of water. It's extremely strong.
Yeah.
So don't be a moron if you're going to go that route.
Yeah, right.
You can use it, but use a very, very small amount. But that's something that, it's like the water-soluble calcium that Korean natural farming makes. You're only using drops worth, a milliliter to a gallon or 5 gallons of water. It's 1 to 500, 1 to 1,000.
Exactly right.
So we can really very quickly go overboard, Serena, with anything that we're doing.
Easy.
Give it a little touch, over time, then you're going to improve what is available to the biology that's building those flowers, those cells of the flowers. You're going to be promoting the life in the soil that's going to be mining what you need. Like Andy says, we need those trace minerals, and I can put on 5,000 tons of trace minerals on an acre. If the biology isn't there to use it, to break it down, to make a plant available, it's 100% useless. It's like having a big rock in the middle of your field, and you can't grow on that rock. There's nothing there. But if everything's working right, then it's all going to work together. And that's where we're really trying to get back to is everything working back together and promoting the growth of the biology that's needed in that rhizosphere and on the rhizole sheath that surrounds that root hair to transport that micronutrient, that rock dust, etc., to the biology that's building the cells. You want that concrete structure in your cell. Well, you got to need the transport truck. You're going to need the cement mixer to go and deliver that concrete. That's what the biology is doing with those materials. But sorry, Andy, I kind of went off on the,
that's good. That's good. I wanted to add to that. I learned from experience, and this is what counts for me. You do something often enough, you go, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't tell people to do that either, because you can easily overdo it very, very easily, and then you burn. You will burn. It will cause different deformities to happen. It will all kinds of stuff because you upset the balance. And I tell people you don't want to concentrate on it because I've heard, I've been in gardening for a long time, and they say, yeah, 20-multine boric acid, really good. It has boron in it, and you can use that because this will help this thing. And that's old. That's old story for me. That's old because that's not what I learned to do. I've learned to make a mixture that has everything in it. So the boron can actually be added. And again, so I can give you an experience. So I was making like maybe 150-pound bags of compost. It's a pile, right? It's a pile.
Right.
And so I used to take things and add them to it to try to get the trace minerals. So I've learned, okay, boric acid is boron. Let's add some boric acid to the pile. I killed everything. It just destroyed the compost. The plants that grew from that were deformed. They didn't like it. Boron is toxic. Anything is toxic. It's supposed to be trace minerals. Trace minerals.
Yeah. Well, like Perpetual says, it's a base salt, so it's a high pH. Boric acid is a low pH acid variety. So that's where, when you do too much of anything, you're going to really cause yourself issues. But I wanted to bring this one up from Perpetual as well. What's the secret sauce? The freeze-dried biology last week's guest is selling. And yeah, okay, the secret sauce is biology. Whether you're getting it from that gentleman's particular product or any other product that's giving biology is that secret sauce, because without it, nothing else happens. It's like I have this beautiful, Lamborghini, Veneno, Venom, whatever you want to call it, or
gas.
a Bugatti. Yeah, no gas. I don't have any gas.
Or no engine.
Right? Yeah, so you need what's going to drive the system, and that's the biology.
We're constantly taught over and over again, get this to fix that.
Yeah.
Right, constantly taught. I grew up with a whole bunch of scientists who are chemists, and they will say, well, 5 pounds of calcium, you have 2 pounds of magnesium. They do it that way, and they blend it together, and then the plant grows. But every single one of them also says, well, it's natural for this plant to get this particular disease, and we use this to control it.
Yeah.
They all would say that. Oh, that's perfectly natural. That happens. You need to use this to control it. And I'm going, no, that's not natural that it happens. It happens naturally because your biology is not there properly working. You can't say, I'm going to do these minerals, and I don't need the biology to get the minerals to the plants.
Well, it's Andy, if you don't eat, how long do you survive, man? If you don't drink water, how long are you alive?
You're gonna have so many
necessities.
You're gonna have so many different problems. So going on to the third point is fungi are the grocery delivery network. Mycorrhiza. I really like mycorrhiza. They have a vast underground web of threads that call hyphae, right?
Think of it as the super highways all over the world, that they need to transport, and that's your fungal hyphae.
Right, hyphae, right. And I always thought, and to me, that there's a lot more going on with this underground web. I was one of my favorite books is called "How Mushrooms Can Save the World" by Paul Paul Stamets, Paul Stamets.
Paul Stamets, yeah.
Yeah. And he calls the internet of the soil.
Yeah.
Because not only does it transfers food, it's used for communication. It's used. So I've learned from experience that there's a forest, right? And there's a tree that's sick in that forest. That whole forest transfers food to that plant. That plant will continue to grow and recover simply because the network is channeling all this food and energy to it, which is really very cool. And so I've learned that, again, you can't concentrate on one particular part of your army. You know, you have to have the driver to drive the Jeep and the tanks. You have to have all the different aspects of it. You can't have one person doing everything. It's not going to work.
If you miss out on the cooks, the whole army grinds to a halt.
Exactly right. And for the so it's a really amazing system that people have just not they don't understand, and we keep how important it is, because it's getting to the point now where I'm tired of people saying the same thing. They say the same thing, but it's not the same thing. I was just, and I'm not going to give any names or anything, but I've been around for a long time, and I've always heard, "Oh, this is a great product. It's totally safe for the environment. The biology will love it. The biology eats it, so how can it be bad for it?" That whole thing, and it turns out to be very toxic, very bad.
Well, rat poison. The rats eat the rat poison, but it's not very good for them.
No, what we're trying to do, what I am trying to do, is I'm trying to say, look, you need to get out of this mindset of, my plant has this disease, what should I spray it with? I mean, every day, there isn't a day somebody calls me up, okay, I got this on my plant, blah, blah, whether it be white flies or whatever. Tell me what I can spray on it. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I spray on it. I spray my biology liquid. I make the best biology in the liquid form I can. I've been around for about 37,450 years in this body. It's getting a little sore, a little sore. And so it's I still watch TV and it says, so you can't eat this because you ate this. Take this pill, and then you can do all you want to. And I'm going, and it's another one I saw for a lawn. I'm not gonna give them the name of the company, but look how green everything is. It's wonderful, it's beautiful. And it's like I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, okay. And they probably even teach you that worms are bad. I get calls all the time. There's some things wiggling on my ground. What is that? They're called earthworms. Oh, they're bad. What can I spray to get rid of? I'm going, yeah. Right? So it's like, and I've been doing this. I'm an early hippie, so I got into the hippie movement, raw food, and all that kind of stuff. Personally, I don't think anything has really changed that much. I think even I see I'm running into a few more people like yourself and this whole group of people here. That was you know how long it took me to run into you guys? I mean, literally 50, 60 years before I ran into anybody that had any kind of brains at all, anywhere that I can deal with. The rest of these people are like, yeah. So that's how long it is. And right now, I think we're in the very minor. We're not in the major. These people over here are just going gazookie nuts with more and more toxins, and they don't get it. It comes right back to us. And yeah, it's okay to say we're getting sicker and sicker and sicker. We're not getting healthier and healthier, and it's a bad thing for that to be happening, because all we have to do is to stop using these chemicals, stop believing that we can do whatever we can to the planet, and just behave. I mean, my first book on how to heal the earth in your spare time, my thought was, you can do it. An individual person can just make some minor changes, really simple minor changes. I'm not going to change my life, but I am going to eat better, pay attention to everything that's alive. It's living. It has a right to be here, whether it be ants, whether it be, fleas, ticks. you name it, they all need to be here. You have to figure out how to wait. What did it say? What happened? I missed that.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Where'd it go?
Broccoli and cauliflower, was that the one?
No, it was one. This was from Tio Mimo, and we have brains, and he knows how to flatter us. Yep. Let's give him a hard time. We all deserve it because we all are programmed. Like I took advertising, I took marketing, I looked at how colors, in a shopping mall, the music in a shopping mall makes you buy. We are so easily programmed, and the powers that be know how to program us.
Careful.
So, yeah, I know we have to be, cognizant of what we're saying, but there's so much that, we've been led down the garden path to believe. And like, I'm very, looking forward to what's going to happen in the America with the new changes in your regulations of going more organic. I'm really hoping that they're going to go after the insurance companies to insure or allow people to go organic and have insurance, which they haven't been allowing. I'm really hopeful for the new changes that have been made to go more regenerative. I'm hoping.
So I've taken the arborist test about maybe 3 or 4 times. First time was back at 30, 40 years ago, something like that.
You're not that old, no.
Yeah. And it was all about the safe use of chemicals. That was it. If the wind was blowing 10 miles per hour, which of these chemicals can you use? And I said, none. I would fail. Okay, so it was like, which of these chemicals would you use for that? And they don't call them chemicals. What would you use? Would you use these? They give you a list of chemicals, and you have to pick the one you're supposed to use for that disease and that pest. And again, I would say I would use none of them. I would see the reason. There's a reason. There's a law of cause and effect. So these things deal with the effect. Yeah, buy this for the rest of your life, and you'll be able to deal with that. And we have a source of income just from that one product. We don't want you to be. We don't want you to be healthy. We don't want your property to be healthy. We want you
to spend money, baby.
Yeah. So, but it's and if that's that's the American way, which has spread around the world. This is it. Make being a priority, which is good. A step in the right direction. Yeah. See, regenerative is. I heard regenerative first back in the 50s and the 60s. Because I like to read. I was reading the Rodale magazines, the Rodale book, and they were talking about regenerative a long time ago. And when I studied all these various different things, nobody was really teaching regenerative as a course. To me, it was sustainable. That's what we went through, a sustainable period where we can do sustainable things that are sustainable. And so now we're back to regenerative, and regenerative is a misleading. In the sense that we're not the ones that are regenerating it. Mm-hmm. Regenerative means let's do something for the soil that it could get on its own again. It could regenerate on its own. That's my goal on it. But other people say, no, regenerative is something you have to do on a regular basis so that the soil can keep going. And I'm going, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, Andy, it's like throwing an egg at a wall or a rock. The splatter's going to go everywhere, but hopefully they're going to, move to a smaller rock so they miss once in a while. Okay.
So anyway, point number 4, bacteria are the biological chefs. How's that? Isn't that cool? So raw nutrients are locked in minerals and rocks and are completely inedible to plants. Soil bacteria eat these raw minerals and use specialized enzymes to chemically cook them, dissolving the nutrients into soluble form like nitrates and ammonia that the plants can safely digest. That's why carbon is so important. And I mentioned this all the time about how the plants take carbon to make carbonic acid, and they use that to break down the rocks or whatever they need to break down, and so into the proper mineral form that can be digested. And so I keyed into that right away because I was studying somewhere and something kept coming up: carbon, 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 carbon. And so to me, carbon is what's left over after a fire, right?
Well, that's what we think of, right?
I go, fire, that's the carbon, that's that black stuff. So lately when we have all these fires, the ocean comes up, these big logs are like burned to a crust. That's like a big chunk of carbon, right? And I started thinking a long time ago, because I was following the not so much the Korean farming technique, but I really like the Chinese in a lot of different ways, because they have been very, very good at doing things that are biologically sound. And so they have bamboo, right? Bamboo grows everywhere. And when there's a fire, they realize that after the rains come and just soak the bamboo is still simmering. This liquid is like a vinegar, makes everything grow like crazy. And to this day, I used to buy, it's called, I forgot the name of it, but it's basically
wood vinegar.
No, it's basically bamboo vinegar.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing, just instead of using wood, you're using bamboo.
It's not exactly the same thing, okay? Because to me, the bamboo vinegar. So the philosophy is bamboo grows like crazy, has this energy to grow, it has the right hormones, and everything's working together to make this actively really grow. And that's when you get that's what you get in the bamboo vinegar. The bamboo vinegar is infinitely better than, quote, wood vinegar, because the wood vinegar depends on the wood. Depends on the wood that's being used. It doesn't really come the way from a sturdy, healthy growing plant. It's growing from whatever tree we end up with the wood with. That's a big difference to me.
Well, I think, Andy, it's a matter of, the molecules are basically the same, but they're different in one or two, and one's easier for the biology to work with than the other is.
Right. So the biology of the bamboo produces a very unique vinegar, which I've learned again from experience, because one time I had both. That's how I met Michael, because Michael was selling that particular one. I tried to buy it. I was told it's illegal. You can't buy it from China. I said, okay, this guy's selling it. It's okay. I can buy it from him. So I was buying it from him, and I kept getting notices. You can't sell this stuff. You can't buy it. You can't sell it because it's too good. It's really too good. And so I ran into Michael, who says, I'll sell it to you. So he bought a whole bunch of it, and now he's making his own, which is better than not using, because you can't buy the bamboo vinegar at all now. But I learned that there are certain types of biological processes that are really, really cool, and I like the bamboo, because the bamboo is a really amazing growing plant, very vigorous, and that's the key. The Chinese saying that plant has the right energy, chi energy, that we want to incorporate in our property, in our growing system. And so that's a specific type of soil bacteria, a specific kind, which I like the wood vinegar. I use it all the time now. It's very easy to increase the biology. It harmonizes with everything, with my worm juice. It doesn't really cause any damage. It doesn't lower the pH. Because I've talked to Michael and a bunch of other people, exactly how much of this wood vinegar should we use? Because you do a little too much, and you're going to burn the heck out of everything, especially if you're trying to convert from chemical to organic, because the biology will break up all those chemicals, make them all available right away. Whoosh. When I first started spraying, and I go to a customer who's never done anything organic, been using chemicals all their life that they've been there, right? 15 years, 20 years, they've been using chemicals. The place is so chemicalized. You do not want to go there and bring lots of biology, because all the chemicals will all of a sudden become available and will kill the plants, burn the plants. And I've done that several times. I go, I guess we have to sort of bring the soil back to life slowly, because the plants are there, and you can't start shocking them. And so I've learned a process to introduce biology, and that's where the compost comes in. Compost is really a very mellow, slow release process, and it has all of our friend Layton makes this incredible compost that literally overnight put it down. Next morning you go, okay, what just happened? Because those are nutrients that are readily available. It doesn't. It takes a while to heal the root system. It takes a while to heal the soil, but the biology can go right straight into that plant. That's why I learned to spray it. If you spray those plants, they suck it right up. Foliar feed is one system. Also, because of wood, most of the trees are wood, right? And the bamboo, the vinegar absorbs it right through the wood. It's really amazing. It goes straight through the wood into that circulation area. And when I do bricks reading, so one of the things I learned, so here we have a fruit tree, right? And so I learned to do bricks reading in different parts of the tree, of the leaves. And there's a name for it. When you give it nutrients, which is supposed to come from the soil, go up into the tree, it's supposed to spread out evenly all over the place, right? So there's a name for it when it doesn't happen. And so when I look at a tree, I go, well, that part of the tree is not looking very well. I know, again, my experience has proven to be, it tells me why, because as above, so below. If you have a part of a tree that's not looking very well, it means that area down below that corresponds to that root system, something's going on down there in that specific part of the root system. Every time. Yeah, every time. So I've learned so the spraying bypasses that problem. They get it, but sooner or later, it's like if you were eating and you stop using your stomach, you just ingested your food, injected your food, you're going to die anyway. Even though you're getting the nutrients, you're getting the value of the food, your body's going to say, nope, it has to come through the stomach. And that's pretty much what I tell people. You need to stop thinking about giving them something that bypasses the stomach. You need to think entirely about giving them something that helps their stomach, right? Helps your stomach to work. I think he has to stop talking before Ken will. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can see you're ready. You're ready. You just jump in, man. We've been doing it for so long. It doesn't. I know you're like.
Well, there's a lot of the times, Andy. There's some things that are I want to say. And I want you to finish your thought, but you just keep going. But I did want to. Serena is wondering if I'm saving all of her questions to ask at the end. Sometimes, Serena, I get them. Sometimes I don't, sweetheart. I'm sorry when I miss them and
What
that.
question did we miss? Tell me what question.
Will the gallon of cold brew coffee mixed with a cup of organic milk and a tablespoon of molasses help with snails and slugs?
I will tell you exactly. So if you want to learn what you can spray, because the organic milk is calcium, the molasses has the iron in them. It's a long process. It's not like you can spray that and all of a sudden the snails and slugs will say, no, I'm not going to eat it. Okay, because that tree needs to absorb the nutrients, then process the minerals, all that kind of stuff before it becomes immune. See, there are long-term and short-term solutions. So you want a short-term solution that you can actually do something that affects the snails. What was the snails and what was the other thing?
Slugs.
Slugs, right. So here is a really very, very simple thing that you can spray, a biology that you can spray that will affect them. And so what I would do is you learn how. So coffee. So you talked about the cold brewed coffee. Okay. So just the cold brewed coffee by itself is also a pesticide. In other words, you can spray the slugs and the snails just with the cold brewed coffee. They will die right in front of you. They'll start cussing at you. They flip over. They start foaming. It's really ugly. They start foaming because the coffee will kill them right away. You don't need the milk or the molasses or any of that stuff because you're spraying the snails.
So you're saying it's a really fast decomposer,
the coffee. What's in the coffee, the acidic of the coffee breaks down the barrier, the protective layer that the snail has. They literally start foaming. The little shell starts foaming. You can see it. You go, I got you. And so there are long-term and short-term solutions. You can spray. So you literally, because I've done it before, people that have massive amounts of snails, and I say, okay, so it's going to take a while for your soil to get in shape. In the meantime, you want to protect your plants. You want to stop that process of the snail destroying everything. So there are a couple of different things you can do for that process that will remove the snail. The cold brew coffee by itself. So what I do is I get a gallon sprayer, buy a couple of the containers. So like a quart, you have to get 4 of them. Fill you straight up with a cold brew. Even though it is normally I would use cold brew, the cream, and a little bit of molasses, but that's being sprayed onto the plants.
Yeah.
See, that goes onto the plants as a foliar application, and that the coffee allows the molasses. It's a carrier to take the minerals into the plants. That takes a while for the plants to grow. You want to do something for the snail. Coffee, it's awful. There are a couple other things you could do. So you can take the coffee grinds, put it in the ground. Don't buy coffee. I used to tell people make a second batch of coffee for the plants. No, you buy the coffee where it's still rich in the calcium and the caffeine. You buy it still rich in that, and you put that around your plants. You just take it and bury it. Don't let it sit on top. You sort of rub it in a little bit so they have to crawl over that. I tell you, it's awful when you see a snail on caffeine. You do not want to see a snail. It's like bing, 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 bing. Oh, what was that? Oh, I got it. Yeah, the snails do not like that. It also inhibits them from laying eggs. One snail will lay 300 eggs in one day. So you want to stop that process. Okay, so the cold brew coffee is wonderful. Again, use organic cold brew coffee, right? Coffee cream molasses as a foliar spray. Exactly right. That's the main. That'll get you your iron and your calcium and your magnesium and probably 30 or 40 other trace minerals from the molasses. See, the molasses is, so you have the white sugar. So I was reading an article the other day talking about a Florida problem that's going on over there, and they grow cane, sugar cane, and so they have the sugar cane that they process. The white sugar is what's left over after they take all the nutrients out of it, and the molasses is the nutrients that they take out of it. So that's why the molasses is so rich in all these nutrients in it, and so that's why the cold brew makes an excellent foliar spray. But if you wanted to attack the snails directly, use the coffee all by itself. The cold brew coffee is concentrated coffee. You can make your own cold brew at home. You get beans, you soak them overnight for a couple of days, and distilled water, and then you can use that. I get lazy. I buy the cold. This has 40 cups of coffee, so I said, okay, get the organic one, pour it in there. Man, it works on a variety of other insects as well, not just snails and slugs. So it'll control whiteflies, mealybugs, you name it. I have a customer. I once in a while I'll buy 10 of those cold brew coffee, put it in 100 gallons. So I get 1 of those cups for every 10 gallons. That's strong enough to spray the whole place. So I spray everything. People go, oh, coffee. So if you can smell it, they can smell it too. So the whiteflies can smell it. The mealybugs can smell it. There are other creatures, and because of the nature of the cold brew. So if you for diseases, for example, when you have a anthrax disease or some type of disease, you want something that'll combat it right away. They'll knock it out. I used to use, when I was young, I would use the cold brew coffee to spray it on the plants for that. Now what I do is I use my biology to spray it on the plants for that, because that's much more effective. It solves 2 problems at the same time. It controls the disease. Normally, you cannot eliminate that disease. All you can do is control it, because it's a soil. All diseases are soil borne. So that means if your soil is not functioning right, disease is going to be happening on a regular basis. That's where city water comes in. It destroys the biology on a regular basis.
Now, Sharina does have another question she's looking at. I have 3 used coffee grounds from Starbucks for the garden. So I can just spread it around my hosta and pepper plants, and it will take care of the snails and slugs?
No, I don't know if I should really answer it now, because there's an issue with Starbucks, and I think we would get the military would show up at the front door and
well,
say,
let's just use coffee grounds. Like say I brew my own coffee and I have lots of coffee grounds.
First of all, it has to be organic. If you're using chemically grown coffee, you're concentrating the chemicals when you're drinking the coffee. And if you're an organic gardener and you want everything organic, doesn't make any sense to buy chemically grown coffee with full of pesticides. Yeah, so if you buy organically, if you ever go to a restaurant or a place that serve organic coffee, fine. But the problem there again is that the customers have already drank the caffeine. What's left, it says, not the product you want. You want the caffeine is what works. The caffeine is wonderful.
So you don't want the coffee grounds.
Yeah.
Okay. You actually want to brew the coffee, the cold brew coffee.
The caffeine.
And it's the caffeine
it's
having the effect.
But the coffee grinds has a very slight mild effect because here in California, our soil is alkaline. So if you add coffee grinds to your soil, it helps to acify the soil a little bit. But ideally, what you do is you add coffee grinds to your compost because your compost is usually too alkaline. If you do it right, we use so much animal manure, it's going to be very alkaline. You have to learn how to bring the pH down. And that's one way to do it. It's coffee. But it's the caffeine that you want to tap into. The caffeine that works wonders on controlling bugs and diseases and the biology. The earthworms love caffeine. Think about it. They're like, oh, caffeine. Right?
Okay, I have to go back to this comment then.
Turbo snail.
Turbo snails. You were feeding them the caffeine, okay? You're going to have turbo worms now.
Yeah. So the caffeine is really wonderful for a lot of things. Rabbits don't like it. Deer don't like it. That you give them something with caffeine on it. So I used to grow a lot of roses. I was with a Rose Society in Florida, and it's always a trick to keep animals from eating your roses or the deer coming around. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to hurt the rabbits, squirrels. But cold brew coffee works on all these creatures. They just take one bite and they go, no, I don't think so. Right, because they get that caffeine hit right away. The little heart starts pumping. Forget it. So let's
get back to it, and Andy. I want to make sure you get through your list.
Okay,
I think you're only at number 4 or something out of 7 or something.
No, number 5 is processed soy and nematodes. They bring the spices. So bacteria are highly efficient at storing nutrients in their cell walls. But when they store nutrients, they're also storing what I like to say trace minerals. That's the key to it. And so these there are larger predators like protozoa. There are nematodes, they're called microworms. They eat the bacteria. The waste material they leave behind acts as a rich, bioavailable, minerally rich fertilizer for the plant. So Mother Nature has all these things going on to make sure that they get the nutrients that they need. And the nutrients always comes down to trace minerals. Milk, calcium. That's a very important source of calcium. So I remember, drink your milk, you need your calcium. Well, that's in a bioavailable form. So you want to get in the habit of spraying coffee cream and sugar. It's a really easy spray. You know you're going to get cream. The cream is the milk. You know you're going to get the calcium, and you're not going to have any of these problems. It's a simple trace mineral tea to make. I talk a lot about C90 and CA90. It's salt. It's just salt. So you use too much salt, you burn everything up. So you have to go a little tiny, teeny little bit in 100 gallons. If I put in half an ounce, if I put an ounce, that's almost overdoing it. An ounce of sea salt in 100 gallons of water.
Yeah, that is actually overdoing it. I would say, half ounce for 100 gallons.
I could use it, but it has to be under certain conditions. If it's a plant's already stressed out because it's not getting food, it's not getting the water, it's already, no, you don't want to do that. You don't even want to incorporate that. You want to start giving it biology. You want to make your compost. You want to make compost tea. Things that are biology free. And and then when the biology is functioning, then you can introduce them to sea salt. They will say, "Oh, great," because they only need a little bit to work. You see what I mean? And so anyway, let's move on to the next one. So microbial glues build the dinner table. Isn't that cool? The healthy soil ecosystem needs air pockets and structure so water can flow. Bacteria and fungi secrete sticky biological substance called glumalin, which acts as a concrete glue to bind tiny dirt particles. So here we are building, right? We're building the structure that we need, the little condos that we need, and it's also a very important part. I wrote here, the structure engineering keeps the underground homes from collapsing. So I talk a lot about, they have little condos that they live in. So it's kind of true, right? It's kind of true. They need a structure. Again, that's why this what's it called?
Biochar.
There you go. Right. The biochar is that structure. And so, and to me, I was doing it again. I'm doing it for a long time. I didn't hear about any of this stuff until maybe the last 30, 40 years. And even then, it's where do you get it from? What do you do, right? Okay, so here I'm going to talk a little bit about why tilting is called over tilting causes temporary tragic beast. When the plow rips up the soil, it smashes those protective structural condos and exposes hidden organic matter to sudden bursts of oxygen. Burst of oxygen is a trip, to biology. This triggers an aggressive, unnatural feeding frenzy where microbes quickly eat everything up, burn out their food supply, and leave the soil completely depleted afterwards. And so what it really does is that it releases the carbon as well. So no carbon, no biology to work on to do the job for you. Because remember, the soil, it's called carbon sequestration. I have a hard time pronouncing it.
Sequestration.
That's what I said. And it's because Mother Nature has figured out a way to use this carbon, whether it be in the ocean, right? The ocean does the same thing, and whether it be in the soil does the same thing.
Andy, people don't really understand that all organic life on our planet is carbon-based. We are carbon-based. The plants are carbon-based. The biology is carbon-based. When we release that carbon out of the soil, that means we're killing a whole bunch of the biology that exists there, releasing that carbon, and then there's no life. We want to put the carbon back in the soil. We don't want, we don't want to kill ourselves. At least I don't want to kill myself. I want carbon back in the soil. I want the life back in the soil that is made of that carbon.
We are carbon-based, and that's one of the main things people need to get that through our heads. We're not silica-based, we're not silver-based, we're not gold-based, carbon-based. And the carbon isn't everywhere. There's nothing wrong with having carbon dioxide in the air. Trees love carbon. Plants love carbon. They absorb carbon, and what do they give off? Oxygen. The whole system is set up to recycle the effective use of carbon. And that's one of the things that we're getting away from, because it's really hard to find carbon these days in the soil. I go to any of these places, I'm going, so what have you people been doing since you've been here for 50, 60, 100 years? They're taking every bit of carbon that falls on the ground and hauling it away. So we're up to number 8. So synthetic chemicals shut down the kitchen. And so I'm trying to, I ran into a person who is using bought this chemical fertilizer that there's a new one on the market now that is eaten by the microbes and it converts it into ammonia. And the problem is that they say, well, it doesn't kill the soil biology or the earthworms, but it does. It doesn't do directly. I did a little research and I found, well, they're correct in saying that it doesn't kill it, but they're incorrect in saying it does kill it because it changes the soil pH of the soil. The biology cannot function outside a certain range of that pH. So it does. And you can't have, again, it goes back to experience, because I have lots of people who say, well, I'm 80% organic and 20% chemical. That 20% chemical will get you every time. And then they all say the same thing. It's normal to have this disease. And it's normal we take this and we spray them.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with normal. That's anti-normal.
And that is their logic. And I have issues with quote people with degrees because they don't have any practical experience in real life. It's like you're a doctor, but you do not have any practical experience in operation. Or because again, we got in trouble when I started talking about doctors and agriculture. But basically, it doesn't really. There's something wrong with this picture, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, number 9 is the feast creates root boots. Root boots.
Okay.
Root boots are a really cool name that scientists call. What happens is that if you was to take a plant and pull it up, you'll see that the dirt clings to the roots like a little fuzzy socks. That's called a rhizoshelf sheath.
Sheath, yes, right, a little sheath,
right, and it proves that microbial glues and biological feeding loops are actively working. So they're called root boots, and so that's one of the things when I pull up a roots of a. I don't do that anymore these days, but when I was young, I would pull them up and look. You see them there, and you would say, "Whoa, what's going on down here?" And it's too late; you can't put it back in the ground. And then the number 10 is the ultimate gut to soil link, and that should be an obvious thing because it's like I tell people that our biomean is a mirror of the soil biology.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is. There's no way that this was created separately. This is like the soil came first, and from the soil, we came. We developed a system that can take the soil with us. I want to move around, and I'm going to take my soil with me. And so healthy, biologically active soil produces food packed with complex metabolites and micronutrients, as well as trace minerals. And these are directly affect our health. It very directly affects the health of the soil. It directly affects the health of the plants, anything growing in it, and the insects and the whole environment. So it's all so good. In the good old days when we didn't have houses, we lived in the forest, and the forest was our house, and we took care of it because it took care of us. And that's basically it. What I have for today. I mean, I have a few more things that we're going to run out of time in a moment, but next week we're doing subterranean engineers unlocking the secret of earthworms. And by the way, I'm getting ready to do I'm working on a really cool online workshop. It's going to be right now. It's 24 weeks, and I'm going to be announcing it within the next 30 days or so. If you guys want to get in on, you go to the website, sign up for the newsletter, and hopefully I will send the newsletter out when the workshop starts. I'm going to figure out a way to give away. We can do it here with a spinning number thing, whatever we want to do to give away a free workshop. It's going to be $99 a month. I'm going to cover everything that you don't want to hear about. Everything, including how to start your own business doing this.
Okay, cool. Now let's I want to hit Serena's thing here. Trained railed in Ohio. Serena, depending on the chemicals, there are certain chemicals that the biology is not going to be able to clean up. The plant isn't going to be able to clean up until certain parts of it is broken down. Like I know there was one, I can't remember exactly what it was. They specifically had to get horse manure. Couldn't be cow, couldn't be anything else. Had to be horse manure because in the manure there was a specific biology existing in the manure that would break down that specific chemical. So there's no one plant's going to solve all these problems. A lot of times it is a process, it's a step by step for breaking down these chemical spills, etc. So I just wanted to point that out because I know you were wondering if I'd actually seen it. And this one here, what should farmers feed their cows, and how quickly should they sell their milk before it becomes chalk tasting. I have no idea, Andy. I don't. Yeah.
Wait, I have a cow right here. Woo! No,
yeah.
No idea. No idea. I have no idea about the cow. I would like to add something. See, again, I go back to experience. So I don't make different types of compost for different things. I make one amazing compost. And so the horse, I bet you the cow manure will have the same product in it. Some of the manures will have it. If you get a blend of them, you're going to get the right one to cure. That's what you do to remove really toxic soil. You literally make the best compost in the world and let it go at it.
And why is it the best compost? Because it's got the most abundance, diversity of life available there.
That's it in a nutshell.
Andy, question for you, brother. Go ahead. Wants to know: is it going to be an online or a live course? It's going to be both. So
once a week, we're going to meet for a live stream. We talk about it, answer your question because that's where it's at, But it's going to be an online setup, so you can go through the process, be videos, questions, the whole thing before you can go on to the next one, And I will go through every week when I do that. When we have that, so if you take it in the order, I will be doing the live streams for those particular one, and they're all being taped, so you can watch it later.
Now, it's not $99 a month. It's $99 for the entire course. Is that right, Andy?
I am not sure about it, but I think I might just do $99 for the entire course. That's probably fine with me, I think. Like I said, I am not sure of the cost. I'm working on it. I like $99 a month, but it could be just $99 for the course. It's actually not a bad idea. It's all new to me. We can all vote on it.
And like Serena says, guys, it's all about the biology.
I love you guys.
Yeah, we're going to end it there. Don't forget the ladies are on with Chiropractic is Sexy tomorrow, talking about our human bodies and how to get the energy flow. We're talking about sunlight for our plants. Well, your body has an electrical system. Chiropractic helps to maintain that electrical system, helps solve a lot of your problems. So you're going to want to check that out tomorrow on Chiropractic is Sexy. And what do soil scientists read to get their news? The Corn Post. All right, guys, we will see you tomorrow on Chiropractic is Sexy. Peace out, everybody.
Take care.